Hey everybody, it's Joe, and as the title of the video, are you making enough as a photographer? Are you really making enough as a photographer? And I ask you this because I suffer from the same thing. And what I mean by that is we all have these periods of fluctuations of money. We have a lot of money coming in. You might have several bookings. If you do weddings, you might have 2 or 3 weddings coming up and you get deposits from them. You might have a lot of family sessions on board lining up, and you might have a couple big orders. You might be a commercial photographer and you're doing a lot of commercial work, and you see this money coming in. But I've been there. I'm going through it. I do it. I know. Are you really making enough money? I mean, honestly, be honest with yourself. It's easy to spend money on stuff that we think we need as a photographer, as a professional photographer, whether it be a new light, whether it be a new camera, whether it be new backdrops, anything. We see this money coming in and we think, okay, well, we're doing really good. But are we really doing good? You could go a month without much work at all. How much money do you have put aside for rainy days? If you looked at your bank account right now and you said, well, you know what, I'm doing pretty good. What happens when you don't have much coming in? And you might have 20% of what you normally have coming in. Do you have enough money to keep going? Are you putting money aside for federal taxes? I'm saying this because I have done the same thing. Wow, man, I got these 2 big commercial jobs. I need to go buy this light. That's great if you truly have the money. Most of us photographers think of income as month to month. We don't think of it as year to year, or what happens if I got hurt? What happens if I'm really slow? You could be the best photographer in the world and you can go bankrupt. It's just that easy. Photography has changed so much. And so many people have a camera. So many people think they are a professional photographer. And I'm saying this and not degrading. Believe me, I am not. I see it every day. I see it outside of my studio every day. I see photographers that have no studio, have really no responsibility as a studio owner does, rent, equipment, all the stuff that goes in a studio, the insurance, everything. And they can just go out and shoot outside and they're fine. And that's great. God bless them, man, seriously. But as a photographer, as somebody that is a professional, that has a presence, that has a brick and mortar studio, are you really making enough money? And I say this because I struggle with that myself. Buy a new camera. I'm going to buy this lens. I think this will help me. Meanwhile, yeah, you have the money right now, and a lot of times it's on a credit card because you think, well, I'll just pay it off in a few months because the money that's coming in, I'll just borrow the money for a little bit. Well, then the money slows down. And then you need the money to pay your rent. Then you need the money to pay your insurance. You need the money to live. And pretty soon, you have a tremendous amount of debt hanging over your head. It's not a fun place to be. I'm telling you this from experience. It is not a fun place to be. So I think photographers in general, because we're the artistic mind, we think, well, okay, this is great. I'm doing great. Everything's going to be good. I got this money rolling in. And then, boy, we hit a dry spell for like a month. And then all of a sudden, the walls come tumbling down because we didn't plan for it. We didn't put money aside. We don't have anything to fall back on. I mean, usually everything rebounds. I mean, it has. But what if it doesn't? What if it takes longer than 3 months to rebound? Are you able, as a business owner, as a photographer, to make 3 months worth of work last, or no work at all? Are you able to make that, stretch that out with your payments, with everything that you have on a daily basis? 6 months is ideal. If we don't have that, then we're really not making enough money. We fool ourselves. I mean, we really do fool ourselves. It's important. And believe me, I'm saying this not arrogantly, not any other way than to help, because I have been through this many different times. I keep thinking, well, you know what? This is a huge job. I'll be okay with this. I'll get this purchased. I will make, my studio better. I will have this equipment. I will have this. The bottom line is most people don't really care what kind of equipment you have. It's all right in here. It's all right up here. I think having a Leica, having a Nikon, having a Hasselblad, having Profoto, having Elinchrom, whatever it is, we think that makes us a better photographer. It makes our life a little easier. I will say that. It makes my life a little easier. But it also puts a lot of debt on. And I'm not at that point yet where everything is paid off and I can just pay cash. Because the more that we finance, the more that we have out there under credit cards, I mean, most credit cards now are in the 20s, 24, 25%. Like some credit cards are 30%. That's a lot. If you think about how much you bought a $6,000 camera, 30% interest per month on a daily basis comes out 30%. That's a lot that you are giving back to a company that just funded you this money so you could have this equipment. In my mind, I'll listen to Dave Ramsey, and I've been trying to do what he does, what he says to do, and it really is making a difference, is to pay off all your debt. If you have no debt other than your standard, if you don't own your studio, you're renting, the stuff that you have to live, if that's all the debt that you have, then you can probably skate through a lot of things a lot better than somebody that has a lot of debt. Just say you have 3 credit cards with $10,000 balance on each one of them. That's $30,000 in credit card debt. If you just make the minimum payment, you'll be paying that thing for probably 15 years. If you add money to it every month, $100 extra or $150, you might pay it off in 3 years. But all of that interest money, everything. I mean, I've had American Express up to $25,000. That's a lot hanging over there. My interest was like 15%, but still, credit card debt is horrible. And again, as a creative, as a photographer, as whether you're an artist or whatever you are, all of that debt just piles and piles and piles. And pretty soon, it's like you're buried and you don't know how you're going to do it without filing bankruptcy. Or you might have this one big job and you swear you're going to pay, but then you're so far behind on the things that you absolutely need that you can't really put that money toward your credit cards. It's a sad situation. And I'm coming to you because I know. It's not something that I'm just preaching and don't know anything about. I know. So maybe this is my way of showing and caring and wanting you as a photographer, especially if you're first starting out, do not fall into the trap of better gear. I'll be better if I do this. I'll have more if I do this. More people will want me as a photographer if I have this. It just doesn't work that way. Most people have no idea what any camera can do. I mean, I have made 20 by 24s with an iPhone that a company bought for several $1,000s because they loved what it was. It's not. It is not the gear. It's up here. not the gear, up here. So calculate what you have, see how much money you really have coming in, see how much money you have going out every month. If all of your income stopped, how long could you pay your bills? Could you pay them 2 months, 3 months? Are you fortunate enough to pay 6 months or a year? If you are for a year, then you're way ahead of most people. Most people can't do 2 months. And really, that's a sad thing because you're constantly stressed. You're constantly hoping. You're constantly believing that something's coming in. This is going to happen. I'm going to make this kind of money. I'm going to be this way. And what if it doesn't? This is serious. This is not a joke. This isn't something that I'm making up. It struck me today. I was listening to Tin House Studios. They're on YouTube, and this guy does a lot of commercial work, and he can go a year without having one job, and then in one quarter he can make the entire amount for the entire year. That's how crazy his work is. But it's the same principle. What if everything just kind of like dried up? What if people got afraid the economy was going to collapse? There's a lot of what ifs, and there's a lot of things that never happen or materialize. But photography is an up and down cycle. There's more and more photographers. There's more and more phones that take beautiful pictures. It's a specialty. It's something that people don't really have to have unless you have a niche that you know that you can do and nobody else is really doing it. And most people don't fall into that. Most people fall into the average job, wedding, portrait, family portrait, small commercial job, whatever it is. So do yourself a favor, put money aside, pay off any debt that you have. It's something really cool about going in somewhere, and it spends differently. When you have money in your hand, say you have $5,000 in your hand, you want to go buy this camera, you're going to really, really think about that camera or that flash or whatever it is that you're buying before you let that money go out of your hand. If it's a credit card, it's just way so easy. You just hand them that piece of plastic and you walk out with a new piece of gear and you don't have a payment for a month and you think, well, this is great. And then all of a sudden, this payment comes in. And the other credit card that you have that you did the same thing on, that payment comes in. It just snowballs. And it really isn't a fun feeling. Fortunately, I've been able to stay ahead of that. And I have truly paid off probably $15,000 in credit card debt this year alone. I got a little bit more to go. I probably got another 15 to go, if I'm being honest with you. That's a lot of debt. That's a lot of credit card debt. So $30,000, maybe $40,000 at one point of plastic debt, it'll kill you. Literally, it'll choke you to death. So I hope this has helped you somewhat. Be wise, put money aside, get yourself a growth fund, some sort of IRA growth fund where you force yourself to put money in every month. Because when you get older, it's not like working for a company. It's not like having a lot of pension, Social Security. Social Security is going by the wayside, it seems like, anyways, and you can't live on Social Security. So you have to put something aside for you because nobody else is going to do it. This is a hard lesson. It's very hard for me. I'm 60 years old. If you're 20, if you're 30, you have time. The sooner you start, the better you are. I started in 2010 with $50 in a growth fund IRA. $50 freaking dollars. It's way up there now. Way up there now. But I diligently I started with $100 a month, went to $200 a month, went to $300 a month, went to $400 a month. That compounds, and that growth fund, since its inception in the late 80s to 2024, it's averaged 15% a year. You're not going to get 15%, you're not going to get 3% in a bank. You maybe if you might be able to get 5 if you have quite a bit of money in a fund, but an average of 15% is a safe way to build your retirement. You don't want to work when you're 70 years old and can't hardly move, or maybe you're fortunate you can, and maybe you love doing what you're doing like I do, but there may come a time where you can't do that. Then what do you have? You have rich relatives? You have somebody that you married that's rich? If you don't have that, if you don't have a pension plan, if you don't have something to fall back on, you're kind of screwed. Truly. So do yourself a favor, get something started so you can save, so you have money. Don't touch it. Do not touch that fund. Even if you can only do $100 a month, just put that away. Yourself will thank you for that 30 years down the road. All right, brothers, sisters, peace. I hope this has helped you. Make it work for you. Make your retirement something that you can look forward to and not worry about how am I going to pay my rent or my food? How am I going to get food? All right, love you guys. Until the next video, peace. Talk to you soon.